Hey guys, this is Dave here with Full Armor Gaming, coming to you again with another installment in our How to DM series. So we've covered a few things so far. We've covered what the objectives of a DM are. We've covered also kind of how to listen to your players when coming up with kind of an idea of what you want to do for a campaign. But today we're going to come to you with something a little bit more practical, and that is the Dungeon Master Guide. Do you need it? If you do, how to use it, which one to get, and where do you get it? So starting off, when it comes to the Dungeon Master Guide, what it is the instruction manual for how to DM in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, do you just go find one and buy one? There's a little more to it than that. So the first thing you need to decide is which edition of D&D do you want to play. There's a whole bunch of different editions going back all the way back to, I think it's the 70s. Each edition kind of has its thing that it focuses more on, or it's better or worse at than others. But for the sake of the video, I would personally recommend nowadays, especially if you're a new DM, 5th edition. 5th edition seems to be much more concise, much more user-friendly than some of the past editions. Now, some people might very much disagree with me on that, but overall it's about finding out which edition you want to play and which edition your players want to play. Now, for the sake of, like I said, for the sake of today's video, I use 5th edition, but now we actually have an additional choice to make when you're deciding the edition, because now they have the 2014 version of 5th edition and they have the 2024 version of 5th edition. Me personally, I'm more partial to the 2014 just because that's what I've been playing for a very long period of time. It's not that the 2024 is worse or whatever. Just right now, all the stuff I have is 2014 edition. So for the sake of having something to show you on camera, what I have and what I'll be utilizing today is the 2014 edition. But utilize whatever works best for you. Talk with your players, figure out what they would like to play in, and then kind of go from there. What is the Dungeon Master's Guide? It is a step-by-step, broken down into parts and chapters, exactly everything that you need to be a Dungeon Master. The intro gives you a good synopsis of like what is your role, kind of like what we were talking about with objectives and all this kind of stuff. It lets you know what to be looking for, what your roles are, all that kind of stuff. But then it breaks down into chapters, and each chapter covers a different subject and then has like sub chapters kind of inside, almost like bullet points inside of it. But everything from how to create a whole world, if that's something you would like to do, how to create an adventure, how to create NPCs, so non-player characters. If you're not familiar with what NPCs means, it's essentially everyone else in the world that's not your players. That's who you will be running. You will be running everyone else in the world other than their players. So a lot of times you'll have to be making up quite a few NPCs. Gives you a really good instructions on how to create NPCs. How to create like environments, like what kind of nature is around them. Are they in coastal regions? Are they in Arctic regions? Are they in the underground? Are they in mountains? You know, all that kind of stuff. So it gives you instructions on dealing with that and like different environmental mechanisms that they could interact with. Teaches you how to create a dungeon, teaches you how to create monsters to put in that dungeon, teaches you how to create the treasures that they find. All of this kind of little things that you would like, oh, I guess I do need to have that kind of figured out. It's got directions on how to handle it, how to create it for yourself, or it also has tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of tables. So a table, when it comes to like the Dungeon Master Guide, or really, you know, like the player handbook or other things like that, it's essentially a huge list of options that are like D100. So you would just behind the screen roll a D100, find out what number pops up, and the dice has made the decision for you. You will award that player with the Cloak of Protection because they rolled a certain number on the D100. takes a lot of the pre-planning for you out. Now, if it's like, your players want specific stuff, okay, well then this, when they're in a dungeon and they find treasure, that's a really good way to let them discover the things that they're looking for. But sometimes it's good to just have them have a random thing that they weren't anticipating getting and letting them figure it out. So that's where tables come in, and they are really, I think it's fun because it adds a lot of randomness still to the world, and it doesn't feel like it's as programmed out. So the other thing it has outside of tables is it has instructions. Instructions on maybe how to build traps. The different types of traps here would be their DCs depending on difficulty. All that kind of stuff is in this Dungeon Master Guide, and it really, really helps make it more accessible to you in those moments when your player asks something and it's like, ooh, I don't know. Or they want the name of an NPC that you were planning on just delivering a message and then walking away, and they want to know his whole backstory. They want to know everything about him. Dungeon Master Guide is a great way to you can go to some of the tables, roll a couple dice, and you have everything you need to know about that guy. And that's for the people that aren't as much big planners. Some people are huge planners. They have a backstory and a life story for every single NPC that every character is ever going to interact with. And if that is the case, good for those people, because I am not that. The one game I'm currently running right now, I just kind of have a theme where every time my players interact with a new NPC, and if it's not something I've specifically planned a whole bunch of stuff for, they almost always have a name that begins with the letter G. It just, at this point, we've knocked out so many G names, it's just starting to get comical. But it's just little fun things that we can do, just little aspects like that. When you are the DM, you get to make the world. You get to decide what's in it, and you can do it however you want. You want to make it more fun, you can make it more fun. You want to make it more sporadic, more controlled, or more logical, whatever works best for you and whatever feels the best in the world that you want to make. But so then it comes down to, so with the Dungeon Master Guide, where do we find it? There's a few options. One, you got to decide, do you want to go digital or do you want to go hard copy? Some people are dedicated hard copies. I have some hard copies down here. I personally am not a huge dedicated hard copy type person. I happen to like D&D Beyond a lot. There are some players that don't enjoy D&D Beyond. I personally really, really enjoy it, and that's pretty much where I buy most of my stuff, is on there, because it's digital, and I use a lot of their tools for making my encounters, for making my campaigns, my monsters, all that kind of stuff. Because once you've purchased their digital copies there, you have access to all of the content from it at any point, at any time, anywhere that you have an internet connection. So it is really nice, as opposed to it's like, oh shoot, I'm DMing and I forgot my Dungeon Master Guide. Uh-oh. Well, with D&D Beyond, as long as you have an internet connection and you have a smartphone, you can look all that stuff up. So I do enjoy that. For the sake of the D&D community, the best place that I recommend if you want to buy hardback is your local game store. You can go to Amazon, and sometimes you might even find a better price on Amazon, but in my personal opinion, Amazon doesn't care if we all continue playing D&D or not. Your local game store very much does. Was a business owner, especially a local business owner. I can't begin to say enough how important having a community support a local game store would be. If you are looking for a place to get hardback copies, I highly recommend find yourself a local game store and buy them there. Build a community. That's where it's a good place for you to find additional players. That's a good place to find people to talk to help you get ideas to DM, that kind of stuff. Your local game stores are always one of the best sources for you when it comes to stuff. But if you live in an area where you don't have a local game store and you don't really like the idea of doing digital, you like having something in your hand, then Amazon is always an option. And normally you can find some pretty good deals there as well. So if it is one of those, you're like, look, I'm looking to DM, but I want to keep my price as low as physically possible, Amazon is always an option. So those are a few ways that you can pick up the Dungeon Master Guide, along with kind of what once you've decided which edition, once you've decided, which version of which edition that you want to go with, then that gives you a good starting point. It's like, the first thing I want to do is I want to get one of these books in my hand, or I want to be and have it to where I can start looking at it and get familiarized with what that world is like. That way it can help you get those wheels start turning so you can start coming up with some ideas. But that's where we're going to end this one today. So once again, guys, Dungeon Master Guide is your how-to book on how to DM. So if you're a person that needs to have something that they can refer to when they don't quite know for sure what they need to be doing, this is the book to do it. Get this. This is your instruction manual in case you ever have any question. Always, you can almost answer any question you will ever have in DMing inside this book. But for now, we'll end it. This is Dave with Full Armor Gaming, and we'll see you guys in the next one.